let's get to the Neyland district. So to compare, Caleb and I were kind of talking about this. I know we have a lot of Braves fans. If you've been to the Braves fairly new stadium, I guess it's 6-7 years, but they have the Battery, and the Battery is basically like an outdoor mall, but it has better stores than the mall. We're not talking about Easttown back in the 80s. It has like a Mizuno shop where you can go try on shoes and you can kick balls into a net. It has a huge country western bar. It has all these different things. So a lot of people just say, I'm going to the Battery, and it has nothing to do with a Braves game. That, I think, Caleb, is Tennessee's goal with this Neyland district, is to build something that is attractive to everybody involved around the game. Ideally, and I don't know if this can happen, but ideally, it would be something that people would want to go to even when there's not a game being played. I don't know if that's too aggressive, if that can actually happen, but I think that would be the ultimate goal. You achieve that, you achieve a moneymaker on campus, and I'm going to tell you why I'm not crazy about it, but that would be the ultimate goal. If you've got an event that has nothing to do with a football or basketball game, but it's going to connect Neyland Stadium and Thompson-Boling Arena. What are your thoughts? Disneyland, Mr. Jones says.
I like that, but
I'm still in that. Thank you.
Next, by the way, if you look through Tennessee football history and Disney animation history, what's considered the golden age of Disney animation was right around the golden age of Tennessee football, which is the late 30s, early 40s. Their history tracks.
I have no idea what that means, but good.
And the renaissance of Disney animation was the 90s. That was the renaissance of Tennessee football. Okay, sorry, but
so I'm going to be the wet blanket for just a second on this deal. All right. I don't think you're going to create a whole different venue for people to show up at. So it's not going to be the extent of the Battery. I think it's just going to be a game day atmosphere, albeit that could be for basketball or football games. So there's a lot of days that it would be used. But I don't think people are necessarily going to go there instead of downtown. Now, what Danny White has working for him is there is no more strip. I don't know who has been down to Cumberland lately, but it is all apartment buildings. The old bars and restaurants that used to be there, they do not exist anymore. It's terribly sad. So maybe students go there, but this sounds like a type of place they can't afford. So how does this fit in the grand scheme of things, Caleb, as far as Tennessee athletics? And I want to hear your thoughts on the message board. What do you think about the Neyland Entertainment District? All right, what do you got, Caleb?
Oh, man, Dave is just one of those old guys. It's like, I want it my way.
I don't know. I mean, I would spend this money seems like it's coming out of everywhere because they had a fantastic year last year. But shouldn't you spend it on coaches and now players via NIL?
Here's what I will say. By the way, for the record, funny enough, I actually think that one thing you missed, I still think the strip is going to actually be the reason this may not work, because there are some bars, they're just not on the strip. Like Cool Beans is like right off the strip. And let's be honest, like, you know, that's affordable and probably still going to be more fun than any place around here because it's going to be too expensive.
Cool Beans is the exception, though. I mean, there used to be like 18 bars in like a 6-block section.
So where I'm going to get at is, look, for those who, I'm going to tell a story. 15 years ago, when I was a sophomore at Tennessee, before I had transferred out, my grandparents had visited. My late grandfather and my grandmother had come, and I showed them around campus. We walked around Neyland Stadium. We all thought the area behind the south end zone was the biggest eyesore and waste of potential of all of campus. Because for those who don't know, the south end zone goes right up to the Tennessee River. Mm-hmm. And it's an eyesore, Dave. It was an eyesore and it didn't look good. And it was like, how are you letting this area go to waste? This is going to connect Thompson-Boling to Neyland from the south end zone. Finally making something appealing about that part right there before you get to Calhoun's on the river. So I think this is a brilliant idea because of that. Now you have a point. Danny White is thinking, this is some type of development stuff you do, like if you are the athletic director at UCF, where Danny White was, or Buffalo, where Danny White was, where they're more urbanized areas. Knoxville's semi-urbanized, though. I know it's a college town, but it's a city. It's semi-urbanized more than most college towns would be. And so I think this is actually a great idea. I'm a fan, and I think it's also, look, with sports gambling happening, so big now, you might have some venues for betting. So you might you could create like a Vegas little like culture right there. I mean, look, I'm sorry, man. This would be pretty epic.
I tell you, I don't think Calhoun's is very happy about it because they had that market cornered. You're talking about that South End. Everybody went there, so I bet they're not really pleased about it. I think it's going to make parking more
ugly.
Yeah, I think it's going to make parking more difficult. You mentioned the aesthetics of it, and I never noticed that because I always grew up around Neyland Stadium, selling game day programs to covering games. I never noticed that it was kind of an eyesore until I had friends that came up and they said it's kind of an eyesore on the outside, and the inside it looks great. Travis says it'll be stupid packed and stupid expensive. Elias says don't particularly care because it's probably going to be a crowded ripoff. I'm kind of like that too. I don't mean to be the wet blanket. Cool, do what you need to do and grow what you need to grow, but it doesn't really blow my skirt up. SC Scout Guy said South Carolina essentially is doing the exact same thing. They bought the entire 850-acre tract next to the river, next to Williams-Brice, and developing it. They should have done that a long time ago. That'll help South Carolina.
Yeah, they needed something around Williams-Brice for years.
Yeah, and it's not going to be as packed. So the Neyland Entertainment District, the NED, as you might call it, or Disneyland, I'll take it or leave it.
Okay,
doesn't do a lot for me.
This is why I also think it's good. So remember, because this I think will be better than the Battery. I don't know if you guys know this. Cobb County, you probably know this, Dave. They basically fronted all the taxpayer money to build that stadium in Atlanta without the consent of the taxpayers, and they were all upset about it. And the way they thought they could supplement the revenue was to create the Battery, and they haven't. They've lost money on it. It's been a terrible deal for Cobb County. Messed up the property value. It's been horrible. They issue too many bonds. They can't pay it back. Luckily, this isn't the same with Neyland Stadium in Tennessee. This is going to be donors and boosters doing it. It's not like Knoxville taxpayers are funneling this money to do this.
I also will believe it when I see it. I've seen a lot of these projects that ended up at about 70% of a coolness factor compared to what you thought. 2 minutes, Josh Ward. What upcoming opponent should the Vols be most concerned about in order? He's got to call them on offthehooksports.com. It's fantastic as we rank Tennessee's opponents. Portions of the program brought to you by Campbell Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Look at me. I got LASIK from Campbell Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. My near and far-sighted vision is no longer a problem, and they're local. With the local vision centers, your annual checkup. They did LASIK for me. They can do cataracts for you as well.